And, of course, there are military lessons to be learned from this account of the Battle of Little Bighorn. Maintain the element of surprise. Keep your forces unified as much as possible. Take and maintain the high ground. It's a rule we should always follow. Trust your reconnaissance units. You've got them out there. Listen to them. Make sure your troops are rested and fed and have water. But beyond those fundamental military tactical lessons, I think it becomes quite clear that there is another enemy that we must always be on the watch for. And that is ego. Our own ego. We have to keep our ego in check. You have to watch out for it and guard against it getting control of you and interfering with your decision-making process. Now, I always say this. This doesn't mean that ego should be banished. It absolutely has a very positive side as well. It drives us to push hard. It drives us to do our best. And a guy like Custer, who personally led cavalry charges at the Battle of Gettysburg that were critical in stopping flanking actions from Confederate troops, an action that no doubt was fueled by courage and bravery, but also was fueled at some level by ego. Because ego is a driver of our actions, and sometimes it can be a positive driver of our actions. But it has to be balanced. It has to be balanced by humility and open ears and an open mind. Keep the ego in check. And I'll tell you something else. Like your ego, another lesson from this is that you have to keep your emotions in check. And you heard the brutality that was committed in these wars on both sides. Both sides. Anger and fear and frustration, those result in an escalation on both sides. And on both sides, there were truly horrific acts of savagery. And that's an extreme example. This whole story is an extreme example of both those, both the ego and the emotional mayhem that are shown in this example are very extreme. But also think about how they relate to your everyday life. How often do you let your ego get in the way of making the right decision? How often do you let your emotions drive your decisions? How often do you go to war because of your emotions and because of your ego? How often do you go to war because of them? And what I'm saying is stop. Stop doing that. Get control of your emotions and get control of your ego and put them in check so you aren't escalating to situations where you savage your enemy or your friends or your coworkers or your peers or your family or whoever. You do nothing in those situations to further your mission in life. But instead, you just distract and detract from reaching your real goals. Don't let that happen. Learn from this particular battle. See what the emotions and ego do. And find a better way. De-escalate. Build coalitions with people instead of building blood feuds. Work with people instead of working against people. Lift people up instead of casting them down. And in short, what that is leading. That is what true leadership is, and that is what a true leader does. So go out there and do it. And I think that's all I've got for tonight. Just a brutal situation that this is. You know,